right, we'll go back on the record. Same appearances as before. We're outside the presence of the jury at the moment. Any issues we need to put on the record before you start?
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Just give me a little lineup on your next couple of witnesses so I can have an idea when I need to give the jury breaks.
My first witness will be maybe 45 minutes.
Okay.
After that, we have two that will both be probably 15-minute to half-hour.
All right, well, let's maybe look at taking a break after your cross of that first witness. Does that sound about right? Okay. All right, the jury's ready. Bring them in.
Please rise for the jury.
All right, you may all be seated. Thank you. Mr. Grinke, you may call your next witness.
State will call Mark Yehle.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalties of perjury, do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Have a seat, please.
Could you state your name?
Mark Yehle.
Are you currently employed?
I'm retired.
When did you retire?
September 1st of this year.
What was your former employment?
I was a sergeant investigator with La Crosse County Sheriff's Department.
How long did you work with the Sheriff's Department?
Just shy of 25 years.
And in September of 2016, were you working as a sergeant in the Sheriff's Department?
Yes, it was.
What were your duties at that time?
I was assigned as an investigator
How long had you been an investigator?
for, I believe, 14 years.
Directing your attention to September 16th, the Friday of 2016, were you on duty that day?
Yes, I was.
Were you assigned to assist in an incident on County Road M near Bergen Coulee Road?
Yes, I was.
Did you go to the scene?
Pardon me?
Did you go to the scene?
Yes, I did.
When you arrived there, what did you do?
I spoke briefly with Captain Zimmerman, I think with Sergeant Valencia. They kind of apprised me of what the situation was. I observed the vehicle involved in the incident, and then I subsequently drove Mr. Kendhammer to the hospital.
While you drove him to the hospital, did you record your conversation with him?
Yes, I did.
At that point, what was your purpose in talking to him?
I wanted to find out a timeline, figure out what happened. The information I had was that a pipe had gone through the windshield and that his wife was injured as a result, and therefore I was trying to determine a description of the suspect vehicle as well as a timeline so we could check either video or for witnesses.
Was there any video to that recording or just audio recorded?
It was just audio recorded.
To orient the jury a little bit to what they're about to hear, there's a point in the interview where Mr. Kendhammer says something about where it might have happened, where the incident might have happened. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
While you were driving, do you remember him pointing out where the incident happened?
Yes, I do.
And do you remember where that was?
It was approximately 100 yards south of Bergen Coulee Road on County M. He pointed it out as a driveway.
Did you drive by that location on County M as you went to the hospital?
Yes, we did.
Did you slow down or stop at any time?
Yes, I slowed down and he kind of briefly described the exact location that he felt that it occurred.
At this point, the parties have agreed that Exhibit 58 can be played for the jury and admitted as an interview with Mr. Kendhammer on the way to the hospital.
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, that will be received, and you can publish that.
You all right?
I'm okay.
My name's Mark. What's your name again?
Todd.
Todd? Okay. Let's go down and see what's going on in the hospital. I'm an investigator with the Sheriff's Department, and I get called out to a lot of scenes, so we're just trying to figure out, where that might have came from, or... So can you kind of walk me through this?
Is my wife okay?
I don't know. I haven't been down there to see, so... Can you kind of show me where... assume it happened down here, because you're coming north.
Right up here it happened. Right, probably, and maybe by that mailbox,
By the mailbox?
just south of that way of the mailbox.
Okay. Why don't you quick just tell me before you leave here?
And he was coming this way. We were coming this way. And it was a older, like a bigger flatbed looking truck,
Yeah.
like a pickup truck with a flatbed on it.
What color was the cab?
I don't even remember. It was darker. That's all I know. Dark green or dark blue,
Okay.
black.
Do you know if it was a Chevy, Ford?
I didn't even look really. We were dicking around and she was drinking water and we were screwing around, not, talking and bullshitting. And I looked up and I'd seen the thing coming. And
Okay.
I don't know if I tried to stop it or what I tried to do, but I reached out for it and it hit her. And I didn't think it hit her at first because I was dicking with I hit the windshield, I was dicking with my hand, and she started flailing really bad.
Okay.
So I quick turned into here, and I was trying to stop the car, and I was trying to pull the pipe, get the pipe away from her, and I hit the damn thing in reverse, and that's how I ended up in the ditch. And then I got out quick, and she was bleeding out of her mouth and her nose really bad.
Okay.
And I tried to
Was the pipe in her at that time? Or?
No, I pulled the pipe out going down the road,
Okay.
and it was hitting the windshield, and I pulled that out, and when I got down there and I got in the ditch, I pulled her out and tried doing my first aid at work. And
Okay.
I tried doing first aid CPR, but I didn't know if I could because of all the blood, so I called right away. And then I started CPR right away.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
I don't know if and she was flailing bad. I mean, I don't know what,
Did she say anything to you?
no, she was bleeding so bad.
Okay.
But she was, and I don't know,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
just, oh my God.
So then the truck just kept going down.
I don't even think he knew he lost it. I didn't
So
give him no
did you
info.
actually see it coming off the flatbed?
Did I?
Yeah.
I seen it when it started coming off. I mean, it like it rolled off and was headed right. I mean,
Okay. What else was he hauling?
I didn't see. I didn't even look at the truck. I honestly wasn't looking.
Okay.
I wasn't looking at to see. I mean, it had he had a bunch of stuff in there. I'm sure because it was taller up.
Okay.
He had some sides, like metal sides on it,
Okay.
and I don't know what else.
Can you put your seatbelt on for me, please? So you want to go to the hospital?
I need to see my wife. Yeah, or somebody has to be there when she gets there.
Right.
She's not a good person alone.
Okay. How long you guys been married?
We just had our 25th wedding anniversary.
Really? Wow. Where do you guys live?
Out on Scotch Cooley Road.
Okay. Off of 108?
Off a C now, yeah.
Okay. That's right. You switched around. So you're probably coming this way, somewhere right here?
Yep, maybe somewhere. I'm not positive where it was. I mean,
Did you lock up the brakes?
I didn't hit the
Stop?
brakes at all.
Okay.
I didn't even think. I mean, I lunged for the pipe, and it came in, and I went back and didn't even think it. I guess I didn't realize that it got her that bad if it hit her. And when I realized it, I quick whipped into that Cooley Road, and that's how I ended up in the ditch like I did. I threw the car in reverse, trying to get over to her.
Okay.
And then I quick pulled her out to try to help her. I don't know what, I mean, she was bleeding. She kept flailing and kicking, and the pipe was flopping, and oh my God. We do everything together. I need to be there with it.
We'll get down there and check on her. Your kids are, how old are they?
22 and 24.
Okay. Adults.
We have a granddaughter too. She just loves her.
And your children are from around here?
Yeah, well,
What are their names?
Jordan and Jessica. Our son goes to Stevens Point. He's home for the weekend. We're going up to Hatfield camping.
Okay.
We went for, not Hatfield. Up to Warren's. Up to Warren's campus.
Just last weekend, or you're planning on it this week?
We're going tonight.
Oh, tonight, okay.
And then we have it up there for the following weekend for Grand Fest. Every year we do it. Just a bunch of family.
Okay. Where do you work?
Down to Crown Court and Seal.
Okay. So can I get an idea of what was going on this morning? What time did you get up?
We're just normal time. We get up normal time, 6:30.
6:30?
And
Okay. And you're coming north because of...
I was going to go over to Holman and see that. I'm going to put a windshield in a truck for a guy.
In Holman?
And we were going over there last night just to see if he was around, and he wasn't. So I was going to run over this morning and see if we could get it and do it before we went, because we're going to be gone all weekend. So
Is the windshield you're going to replace in somebody's driveway, or?
in his truck, I was going to take it to my house.
Okay.
She usually goes with me and drops me off, and she goes to work, and then I go pick the windshield up. And I have it there, so when she's done work, she helps me set it.
So the two of you left about 6:30 this morning from your
No,
house?
no, we don't leave our house till 7:30
Okay.
or to 8.
Two of you were going to go over to this guy's house.
Yeah,
She was going to take this car back.
yeah, and I was going to take the truck back.
Truck back.
If it was there. If it wasn't, I was going to take her to work, and we
Did you
do that a
call
lot.
the guy?
But no, I didn't call him. I don't call him. Just, I was going to stop by it. We've had it set up for a month to do. It's not a big hurry for it. And I was just going to swing over, and if it was there, grab it. I haven't even... it's been sitting in my garage. The windshield's been sitting in my garage for a month.
When you ordered?
Yeah, I ordered them in. I get them overnight.
So this is something you do on the side?
My wife and I do, yeah. She helps me set them at the house. I can't do them mobily because you got 2 people to set them. So we pick them up and do it, and then she helps me set it, and then we take them back. We do a fair amount of them, and I've had this one there for, well, it's sitting in the garage there. It's been there for, I don't know how long.
Okay.
So,
And then, had you talked to this guy recently? So he knew you were going to come in the truck?
he didn't know
How do you get
some-
the keys?
the keys are always in it.
Or he's in the truck?
He always,
What was that guy's name?
Heimer.
Name is his last name?
Yeah,
Do you know his first name?
Justin.
Justin Heim.
And like I say, we had talked about, it's been,
I don't want you to have to relive it anymore, but I'm
I
curious
understand,
as to
I
if
understand.
there's a-
I just
you
want to
guys
make sure
gotta
Barb's okay.
Close your eyes and think of what you saw there as far as vehicles. Was there any damage to the truck?
I can't remember. We don't even,
I know it's, you pay attention to every car you drive by, but is it an older truck?
it was like a,
There's a possibility that at the same time tomorrow you can drive by or same time Monday.
oh yeah, I see, I can see Barb flying. It was like a,
It wasn't a dump truck.
no,
You
it was
say that for
a,
sure.
it was a pickup truck with a homemade
So
flatbed
like
looking
a,
thing.
the different half ton, 3/4 ton, 1
No, it
ton.
was like probably a 3/4 ton. It was a
3/4 ton.
bigger,
Okay.
taller, was a taller pickup,
Okay.
but it had like a makeshift bag box thing on the back of
Like
it.
homemade or was it a steel flatbed?
It was a steel
Wood?
flatbed with like metal sides.
Okay, so it actually had sides on it.
Yeah,
Was
like,
it like a dump bed?
I don't think so. I think it was just a,
Okay.
it didn't sit up that high, I don't think.
And you
I
didn't
don't
notice?
remember.
That's what you noticed. But was there any writing on the doors or anything else? You don't know what it was?
I didn't look at it. I honestly didn't look at it. I wasn't, can't say we always talk and bullshit, and
Sure.
I didn't even look at it.
You guys
It
had
happened so
seatbelts on?
fast, I didn't know.
You didn't? Okay. Did Barb? Did you take it off her? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Does she normally wear it?
She normally wears it. Sometimes she doesn't, like on a short talk, but normally she does.
Okay.
I had to pull her out of the car.
Okay. So then, so I could go through this again. You were coming north,
Headed to home, and I was.
heading to Holman. Barb was in the passenger side. This truck comes by. You start to see a pipe come off.
I like right there, I seen that. When you look up to see that vehicle, I looked up to see that vehicle, and something like a bird is coming right at us.
Okay. And was it like flipping over?
No, it was just a straight.
So it came straight off the truck
Just like
and
it
hit
comes,
the road?
just like it comes rolling off, just like straight,
Okay.
and it looked like a bird. And I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why I did it.
Did what?
I reached out to try to grab it.
Okay. With both hands?
Yeah,
Okay.
this one more so, I guess, but
Sure.
I don't know why. It just
So,
it happened so fast. I couldn't
I don't
stop
want to get
it.
graphic, but was it in the windshield and Barb at the same time? Did it stop there, or
Yeah, it was in, and
did you have
she.
to pull it out of the windshield?
Yeah,
Or did it come completely through?
it was in her chest or throat or head or something,
Okay.
and I don't know how long it was there. I don't think it was there very long, and she started just profusely thrashing and spitting blood and just bleeding. And
You were still driving at
I
this
was
time?
still driving, so that's when I reached over and pulled the pipe out a little bit,
Like forward?
pulled it out of the windshield a little bit, and then that's when I whipped into the coulee road there,
Okay.
and I was trying to mess around with that, and that's when I was dicking around and I hit it in reverse and put it in the ditch.
When you were trying to get it stopped?
I was trying to get it stopped. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I got out quick, and she was just still flailing like a son of a gun. And I pulled her out of the car and put her in the ditch and started.
What'd you do with the pipe? Was it...
I pulled it out of the windshield to get her out of the car.
Okay, so she was kind of stuck because of the pipe?
No, she was flailing against the pipe. She was just flailing and big.
When you got around the passenger side?
When I got around the passenger side, I pulled the pipe out and pulled her out.
Okay.
And started CPR. I started the compressions.
Okay.
And then with all the blood coming out, I didn't know if that was right. So I called right away then. And she said, yes, keep doing that.
She talked to you?
What?
She talked? Oh, the
No,
dispatcher.
the dispatcher.
Gotcha.
She couldn't, she just was mumbling, just,
Sure. And did you notice any other cars on the road?
not a single car. I hollered.
You called dispatch?
I did.
Okay, no one else called for you?
Not that I know of.
And how much time would you say so we can kind of figure out when it's
Oh boy, it seemed like it was forever. I mean,
How much time between the time that the accident happened and the time you think you got through the dispatcher? Was it minutes or...
no, it was probably, I tried CPR or, compressions right away for a while
Before you called?
before I even thought of, I mean, I'm a first aid responder at work, and CPR and EED and all that. And the thing they always taught us was pull, but it's more apt to getting the compressions in to keep the blood flowing so you don't lose stuff. And that was my biggest concern, was trying to get back on
Okay.
and make sure she was going to be okay.
Okay. So can you kind of estimate for me?
I would say maybe, well, I was about ready to pass out when I called the dispatch from compressions. So it was probably 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm guessing, I don't,
And had you made any calls before then?
no.
Not in the morning at all?
I called Barb's mom, because I got a well guy coming today to look at her well.
Was that while you're on the road, or was it before you left?
That was before it was at home.
Okay.
Either Barb or my wife or I, one of us calls her mom every morning.
Okay.
Just to see if she's 84 years old, just see how she's doing, and like that. We take care of her. We built the house on the home farm, and we take care of her mom. Her dad passed away 10 years ago, so both of our dads did.
We'll get you with one of the social workers down there, and they can kind of keep you apprised of what's going on.
I won't be able to see her.
Well, I don't know if she's in surgery or not, so I'm not sure if there's any possibility that we
She don't want to be alone. No, I wanted to go with them. Yeah, they would love me.
Be strong.
Please. She's okay. She's okay.
So the other officers are getting a hold of your kids.
I guess so. I don't know why I can't just drive.
You drive that way a lot?
All the time.
You have any other injuries? Did they check you out?
They checked me out. I got a bruise on my leg, I think, from the shifter and just my hands, I think.
So that I can tell another officer to be out there in the morning and look for this vehicle.
It's a pickup truck looking with a flatbed thing on the back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Was it a real old one or a real?
no,
new one?
it's not real old. It's an older. It's an older, like a maybe a 2000
Okay.
in that era.
Sure.
And
And you said it
it's-
was dark green or dark blue?
It's a darker color.
Okay. But not black?
I don't think it was black.
Okay. No, it's not a dark red or maroon or...
No, it was a green or a blue or dark like that.
Okay.
And it had maybe 18-inch or 2-foot sides on it. And I don't know
Those
what
are
was.
metal sides too?
Yeah, they're metal, like a steak pocket sides.
Gotcha.
And I don't know what was in it. I don't know what he had in it.
Didn't look, was that
I
overloaded or anything?
I thought it was a bird at first.
Sure.
And then it kept coming and I just, and I didn't even look at the truck. I didn't think it was coming from that truck.
No chance it saw a driver either?
I didn't.
Male or
mean,
female? Or...
no, I didn't. Like I say, when we're usually talking and I wasn't even looking at the vehicles. And I travel, we know the road so well that
Mhm. It happened 5 to 10 minutes after you called, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Before.
I got the tail on the phone for you.
and it took forever for him to get there. I mean, it seems like forever. And nobody stopped. That worked.
Did somebody drive by at all?
I don't know. I didn't look. I was trying to do CPR.
You know, you probably didn't see it, but there was like looked like maybe a head had hit the windshield here, and then the pipe
That was my hand.
right here.
I reached for the pipe and it was coming in. I lunged to try to stop it from hitting Barb, is what I think happened. I say, I seen it. I seen it, but then, you know, you see them swallows flying right at you.
Sure.
And I didn't even, and then
Did
they
you
all,
realize it was a pipe before it hit the windshield?
no, because it was coming right straight at us. It wasn't
Yeah.
sideways, it wasn't tipped, it was,
You said it came off the truck, never hit the ground, and
no, it just come right straight off the
straight
truck.
off the truck.
And it looked just like a, I mean, you couldn't see the sides of it, so I didn't know it was a pipe.
Yeah.
And then at the last minute I seen it, that it was a pipe, because it was kind of at an angle, and that's when I lunged forward.
With both hands?
I must have. This one's not as bad, but this one, I had the steering wheel with this one.
Okay.
And it must have let go of this one eventually too, and because I got glass in this one,
Okay.
and I don't know how I would.
Okay. The other thing is the window was kind of pushed out here
Yeah.
in a round circle, and then it was kind of pushed out where the pipe had gone through. You said you pushed the pipe forward or backwards?
I pulled the pipe out.
So did you have to push it out toward the front of the vehicle
Yeah.
to get it out?
I took it out that way and through the pipe.
So you were outside in front of the windshield and pulled it out that way? You didn't pull it out from inside the
No.
passenger compartment?
No, I pulled it from the outside.
Gotcha.
I'm sure I pulled it from the outside.
It's a lot to remember.
And
You have more important things to worry about.
I don't want to. Oh my God! All I can see is her flailing like she couldn't breathe. She was kicking. She kicked me.
What were you guys talking about?
We just talk. We just bullshit.
You remember?
I don't remember what we were talking about.
So no arguments, anything like that?
Oh no.
You guys argue often, or?
No. Very
Married
seldom.
couples do?
We have a unbelievable relationship that way. People think we're strange because we don't. I mean, my wife sometimes gets a little depressed. She has depression,
Yeah.
but the kids and I all know it. And we know how to cope with it and go around it now. So we don't even have to worry about that much anymore.
What'd she do to let you know she's depressed, or?
She just, I mean, you know it.
Or-
No, she don't get angry. She just gets real quiet and mopey and
Okay.
doesn't want to do anything. And
She take medication for it?
yeah, when she has it, she takes I forget what it is. Appraisal.
Okay.
She doesn't take it very often anymore. She's now with the grandbaby and stuff. We're over there all the time, and we're remodeling the house with the kids, and we have to go over and paint Sunday when we get home.
Pardon me?
We have to go Sunday and paint at the kids' house. She does all the painting for us.
They were going to Gunners, right?
That's what I think, yeah. That's what I told them. That's where we go if we gotta go to the doctor. I rode in the ambulance once before with my dad, and it was okay.
Oh, yeah? What was that for?
He had cancer really bad. It was Barb's dad. So we had to take care of both of their moms. Our brothers don't do nothing to help them.
Oh. So where do they live?
My brother lives over in Mindoro. You mean my parents?
Yeah.
My mom lives up there on Highway 16.
Okay.
And Barb's mom lives right where we live on the home farm.
Oh, yeah. In a different house?
Yeah. She lives in the old farmhouse yet. We built the house up in the hayfield.
Okay. That's nice.
We did it yet when her dad was alive. And when he got sick, it worked out real good.
That's Barb's mom.
Yeah. She's 84. My mom's going 65.
Did she take care of herself otherwise?
My mom or Barb's mom?
Barb's mom.
She don't do much anymore. We gotta take her to get groceries and
Okay.
do all that stuff.
Does she
but-
walk, or?
Oh yeah, she can walk. She just don't go far.
All that, I didn't catch your last name, Todd.
Kendhammer. My nephew just got hired on as a cop in West Salem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brandon.
Right in, yeah. I
pretty good shape.
My grandmother was Kendhammer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who was that?
Matilda.
So,
Huge family, I guess.
yeah, it is.
In relation to the Kendhammers out on, not Smith Valley, but the other one. It runs off Smith Valley there.
Oh, I know where you mean. Peters Road.
Yeah.
No,
No?
I know that's Ronnie and Tom.
Okay. No relation to them, though, huh?
No. It's just, I don't see anybody here yet.
Pardon me?
Mr. Yehle, in your career in law enforcement, did you interview people that were victims of trauma?
Yes, I have.
And was that a common part of your investigative duties?
Yeah, a majority of my cases, especially early on as an investigator, were child abuse cases.
Did Mr. Kendhammer seem upset and emotional during the car ride?
Yes, he did.
Did he seem talkative? Was he easy to get information out of?
Yeah, I think he volunteered a lot of information.
You asked a couple of questions about what phone calls he might have made that morning. Why were you asking questions like that?
Often we use the phone records as establishing a timeline.
During the ride, there was a point where he seemed to indicate that his hands were hurt. Do you remember him showing you his hands?
Yes, I did.
Was he talking about both hands or just one hand?
He's talking about both. I think he pointed out that his left hand was more injured than the right. I did observe abrasions consistent with that.
To both hands or?
To both hands.
After this part of the investigation, did you later then travel to Dane County to attend an autopsy?
Yes, I did. I did on, I believe it was September 21st or the following week.
And was it Dr. McCubbin that you met with?
Yes.
Do you remember at that point what information you had involving this case?
Prior to the autopsy, or
when you went to meet with her?
she had told me that she didn't feel that, given the mechanism of injury, that being a pipe penetrating the window,
Overruled.
that there are multiple planes of injury, excuse me, and that those injuries couldn't have occurred in just that single event. She also showed me those injuries.
Did you, you obviously had the information you received from the recording we just heard. Did
Yes.
you have any other information that you had to take with you to Dr. McCubbin?
Investigator Leinfelder had spoken with Justin Heim, and he had told me that his story was inconsistent.
Sustained.
After the autopsy, did you then decide to arrange another interview with Mr. Kendhammer?
Yes, we did. It was decided among the investigators to do that.
And do you remember what the purpose was for having a second interview?
To clarify some of the information that we received from the pathologist as well as from the witness.
Did you call him to set up the interview?
I did.
Do you remember what you told him the reason was for the interview?
I told him it was because we had more information and that we would go over some videos that we had.
Did you, during the interview later on, did you go over any videos with him?
No, we didn't.
When you told him that, was it true that you were going to show him videos?
I don't think that was really in the plan. It was just a way to hopefully get him to come in and speak with us.
Why did you want him to come in and speak with you? Why did you want him to come in to speak with you?
So we could clarify the injuries and some of the inconsistencies from the other witness.
Why did you feel you needed to tell him something that wasn't true to get him to talk?
Just based on my experience, I've called other people in serious cases where there's serious allegations, and it seems if they have some indication as to why I want to speak with them, they either cut off communication or don't show up for the interviews.
At this point, Your Honor, we've agreed that Exhibit 146 can be played. That's a phone call to set up the interview.
That's correct. 146,
Yes.
okay. That'll be received then, and you can publish it.
We're sorry, you have reached a number.
Hello?
Hi, is this Jordan?
This is Todd.
Oh, Todd, good. This is Mark Yehle from the Sheriff's Department. How are you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, say I didn't get to talk to you since I last saw you down at the hospital. I want to give you my condolences.
Okay.
I know we didn't have a conversation since we found out about Barb. How we holding up?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I got some medicine and I'm trying to take that, and I got a lot of friends and family that are working with me, so I'm doing okay.
Okay. Are you home now, or?
I'm not right now, no.
Oh, okay. See, the reason I'm calling is I think I talked to you about this earlier, is that, you know, we didn't get a lot of time to talk that day, and we got some video of vehicles coming into West Salem there, and
Oh, okay.
we'd like you to take a look at those.
Okay.
And I was hoping you might be able to come down maybe sometime this morning so we could go through those and maybe just kind of run through it, see if you remember anything else.
I can, what time?
Can you make it about 9:30, 10?
What time is it now?
It's a 8:45.
I can, where do I go?
Down to the Sheriff's Department. Do you have a cell phone to use right now?
I'm just using my son's.
You are? Okay.
That's this one that I got here, yeah.
So you're carrying that with you?
Yes, I am. Well, he's always with me, so usually with me.
Okay.
If he's not, then I have the phone with me.
Okay. Do you know where the courthouse building is?
Yes.
Okay. If you just want to come down, they're gonna have to run you through the scanner. At the
Okay.
building that's on the Vine Street side, the construction side of the building.
Okay.
And then just come up, either you can ask the security guys where the Sheriff's Department is, but it's on the first floor.
Okay,
You just
that's
come-
the new building, right?
Yeah, it's relatively new. It's probably
Okay.
one of the newer buildings down there. It's kind of like
Okay.
beige brick with green mirrored glass.
Okay,
So, now, do you have my cell phone number?
I don't.
Okay. Why don't you jot it down in case you get lost?
Okay. Okay, hold on 1 second here. Let me grab a piece of paper. Okay, okay,
It's 792
okay,
6197.
okay.
Okay. And if you want to just
All
come
right.
to the front desk and ask for me.
I will be down in a little bit.
Okay. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Mr. Yehle, why do you record a phone call like that?
I guess basically as a point of evidence.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
For evidentiary purposes.
You don't hide or dispute the fact that you told him something that wasn't true to get him to talk?
No.
Do some people avoid talking to the police when you try talking to them?
Yes. I think it's fairly common.
Does that make it more difficult to get information?
Yes, it is.
That's all I have for right now, Your Honor.
Does that mean you're going to recall him at some point?
Perhaps.
Okay. Anyway, Mr. Hurley?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How should I address you? Do you want me to address you as Mr. Yehle, Investigator Yehle?
Mr. Yaley's fine. Thank you.
Folks have a right not to talk to the police, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And if folks lie to the police, that's a crime, correct?
Yes. Generally speaking, yes.
But you lied to a citizen instead of telling him the truth, correct?
That's correct.
And there was a subsequent interview when he did come in, is that correct?
Correct.
And you were present for that?
I was.
And who conducted most of that interview?
Investigator Leinfelder.
And he lied continually to Mr. Kendhammer during that interview, didn't he?
Judge, Your Honor, this is hearsay at this point.
Sustained.
When you called him on that tape, he told you that he was on medication, is that correct?
Yes.
I didn't hear you inquire about what kind of medication he was on. Did you inquire of him subsequently and before the next interview?
I think during the interview, he had told us.
And what did you understand that medication to be?
I think it was alprazolam.
And do you know what that does?
Not exactly, no.
When, on the morning of the 16th, when you arrived at the scene, was Mrs. Kendhammer had been removed from the scene already, is that correct?
I don't recall exactly when. I believe that the ambulance was still there, but it had left prior to the time that we had left.
Not sure I understand.
Okay.
If you don't recall, that's cool, but,
Yeah. I thought that I had seen the ambulance there.
okay. And you arrived there and you said, and you're an investigator, is that correct?
Correct.
What did you understand you were investigating?
Traffic accident.
And had anyone told you that you were investigating a possible homicide?
No.
When I listened to the tape, I heard someone in a very emotional state. Would you agree?
I would agree.
He was crying sounded like he was crying or sniffling consistently throughout the ride.
Yes.
He asked you repeatedly about, could they get to the hospital, about his wife and her condition, is that correct?
Yes, he asked more than once.
Actually, I counted, I think it was about 8 times. Does that
Was it?
sound right?
Sure.
When you asked him where his car was when it was struck by the object, I believe his words were maybe by that mailbox. Is that correct?
Correct. One time he said that, and I think he said just to the south.
Yeah. He wasn't precise about it.
No.
Is that correct? So one today really couldn't be precise about where that point was. Is that correct?
Not the exact point, no.
During the time that you were talking to him, he got some stuff wrong. Is that correct? I believe he told you he was on the way to Cranfest and Hayward.
Yes, I
Do you
think he
recall
said that
that?
they were going to Hayward, and then he corrected himself and
Right.
said they were going to Warrens.
I'm going to ask you to clarify some things to see if I heard them correctly, because there were times that you were talking over one another, and there were times that the volume seemed to go down.
Okay.
And I presume that you didn't fiddle with volume at all on the way.
No, I didn't.
So that might be a matter of people moving their head in the car away from where the microphone was?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not
the
telling you.
microphone was situated between us.
Okay. I believe he said at least once, we were riding along bullshitting, she was drinking water. Did I hear
Yes.
that correctly?
Pretty close to words to that effect, yes.
That he wound up putting the car in reverse when he was trying to get over to her?
I don't know if those are the exact words. I think he said he somehow put it in reverse.
You asked him, when he explained that he had lunged at the object coming, I think you asked him, did you lunge with both hands? And I believe he replied, I must have. Is that correct?
Sounds correct.
When he said, I must have, did you understand that to mean that he was trying to put 2 and 2 together?
I would surmise that in that context, that's what he was doing.
You were asked a question about phone records. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you said that you were looking for the phone records to establish a timeline.
It says a common practice to use phone records to establish timeline.
Timeline for what, in this case?
When the incident occurred, as precisely as we could.
What did you expect to find from the phone records?
Well, having some idea of when he said that he had called his mother-in-law and the dispatcher, it would tie into, if we had his phone records, it could tie that into a timeline of travel.
He said to you, I believe, repeatedly, I don't recall, I wasn't looking with respect to the automobile or I should say the vehicle that he thought the pipe had come from, correct?
That's correct.
And despite the fact that he said to you repeatedly, I don't recall, I wasn't looking at it, you pressed him for more detail, is that correct?
Yes, I thought maybe he would remember more as he went along.
And at one point, after he's, I believe, told you 3 times that he thought it was an older flatbed, you told him to close his eyes, correct?
I did.
And when you told him to close his eyes, were you trying to get him to reimagine what he saw?
Of reimagine, or as a way of not being visually distracted. I think people concentrate better when their eyes are closed.
Before he closed his eyes, I think he said to you, it looked like a pickup truck with a flatbed on it. I don't even remember. It was darker. I don't. That's all I know. And then you pressed him on a color, and he said dark green or dark blue, correct?
I don't have the transcript in front of me, so I don't know exactly when in the conversation that was, but I thought earlier on he said that it was dark green or dark blue, and then I reminded him of that,
And
yes.
you respond with, was it maroon or red?
Yes, as a process of elimination, determine whether how certain he was of the color.
And he even guesses maybe black, correct?
Yeah, I think at some point, I don't remember when, but he said he didn't think it was black.
And he tells you that he sees a thing coming at him, and he thought it was like a bird, correct?
Yes.
He did. I believe he said he didn't even realize it was a pipe until it was so close and he could see it on an angle, correct?
That's correct.
Tells you that he thinks he was headed to Holman to do something with a windshield for somebody. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he told you, I didn't call him, I don't call him, I was just going to stop by, correct?
Correct.
And that whoever that was, he didn't know he was coming.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
You had asked him about making phone calls that morning, and he told you that he had called his mother-in-law,
Yes.
and that he called her because he had a well guy coming to look at her well. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
And he told you that either he or his wife, Barb, would call her mother every morning, correct?
Yes.
You asked him about injuries. He spoke of his hands. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he explained to you that he thought he had lunged with both hands, or you asked him that, and he said, I must have.
Mm-hmm. That's
Correct?
correct.
And then he said something about, well, maybe not so much with this one, referring to his right hand because it was his left hand that had the most severe injury. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And he told you he got a bruise on his leg from the shifter. Is that correct?
Yes, I think he said that he thought that's how it occurred.
My bosses told me I missed something. On the date that you called him to come in and meet with you, that was a Thursday, is that correct?
Yes.
When you made that call to get him to come and speak with you, did you know that his wife's funeral was the next morning?
I did.
No further questions.
Mr. Grink, anything else?
Just Just a few. Mr. Yehle, the point when he indicated that the pipe or the incident happened, I think he used words right over here or right near here. What was going on in the car at that time?
He's basically pointing it out.
So visually, you could see where he was pointing to?
Yes.
When you were asking him questions, was it common for you to help people remember events by asking more questions?
Yes, it is. I rarely get a lot of information, and I understood completely that he was under a lot of stress and worry. And people don't really recall information as well when they're in that situation.
Was it normal for you as an investigator to talk to people who were under stress or emotional?
Yes.
Did it work with victims and witnesses in the past to ask more questions to clarify memory?
Yes, it has.
Mr. Hurley asked you a question about, Mr. Kendhammer said that he didn't really see what it was that hit the windshield. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Did he also say other times he saw it roll off the truck, off a flatbed truck?
Yes, I think it was later on, but I don't recall specifically whether it was during this initial interview.
Did he indicate a number of times that this was a flatbed truck with rails on it?
I thought that he may have said it twice. I can't say for sure.
That's all I have.
If I might follow up on one?
Go ahead.
With respect to Mr. Grunke's questions about pressing people when they're in an emotional state about detail, it's kind of yin and yang, isn't it? In that when someone's in an emotional state, you're less likely to get the most accurate information. Whereas when it's freshest in their mind, you're more likely to get the most accurate information, correct?
Not sure I understand exactly what you're saying. Freshest meaning right after the incident occurred?
Right.
Versus?
When something's fresh in our mind, we're better about the details. You wait a couple of days and you might not recall, correct?
I think that's fair to say.
You know, if I asked you what'd you have for breakfast last Friday morning, maybe eat the same thing every day and could tell me, but
Sure.
you understand the point.
Yes.
Right? And so there's this desire to get the information when it's most fresh that's complicated because when it's most fresh, the person may also be in a terrible emotional state. Correct?
I would agree with that.
No further questions.
Mr. Grinke? This time, does any member of the jury have a question for Mr. Yehle? Okay, give her the clipboard. Anyone else? Okay. Should be 502, so. Yeah. I don't know if you have a slip for 503. Keep just give me a fresh one, and I'll just hold it. And then you'll have to put the date and initials on it. Yehle, this is identified as Exhibit 502, the questions. First of all, was Mr. Kendhammer sitting in front or in the back seat of the car that you were driving him in?
He was in the front seat.
And the question is this a squad car? And if you need to describe that further, why don't you just tell me what kind of car you had?
It's an unmarked car that we use for investigations. It's equipped with a radio and emergency lights, but it doesn't have the exterior emblems and lights on the top.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Hey, Mr. Yehle, you may step down. Good to see you. Would you like to call your next witness now or take a short break?
We have two witnesses that both might be between 15 minutes and a half hours, so we'll take a break now, that might make sense.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have you step out for a short break. Again, about 10 minutes, maybe slightly more. Don't talk about the case, and we'll give you a heads up when you're to come back in.
Please rise for the jury. Everyone, please rise.
You all be seated. We'll go back on the record. We're outside the presence of the jury. Anything either side wishes to put on before we continue? Mr. Grinke, after the two witnesses, you anticipate any more today
I do have 3 trailers.
on top of the two?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, if we're ready to proceed, you can bring the jury in. You all be seated. Mr. Grinke, are you ready to call your next witness?
Yes.
State calls Justin Heim.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear under penalties of perjury, do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please have a seat.
Good afternoon.
Hi,
Can you please state your name for the record?
Justin Heim,
And can you tell us where you work?
Crown, Cork, and Seal.
Where do you live?
Casper Cooley, Holman, Wisconsin.
Can you describe where that is for those of us that aren't familiar?
Heading out of Holman on Long Cooley, heading out like you're gonna go to Stevenstown.
So is it on the north or south side of Holman?
It'd be more towards the north.
And do you know the defendant in this matter, Todd Kendhammer?
Yes,
Are you familiar with the position that he holds at Crown, Cork, and Seal?
yes,
Are you familiar with what position he held back in September of 2016?
yes.
And what was that?
Line maintainer.
And can you describe what someone in that position does?
Mainly run a big machine that's called a decorator. Puts the ink on the outside of the can, the part that you look at, that you see when you hold onto the can.
Okay. And so would someone in that position be in contact with glass for their job?
No,
And then going back again to September of 2016, were you on vacation in September of 2016?
yes,
And earlier that year, had you talked to Mr. Kendhammer about a friend needing a windshield?
yes.
Who was that friend?
Ben Paff,
And did you talk to Ben about this windshield?
yes.
And what did he tell you?
He said he did not.
Objection, Judge, that's hearsay.
Overruled.
You can answer.
He said he did not want to have it done because it's just a farm truck and it was not a top priority for him.
Okay.
So it was just left at that.
So then, did you have any subsequent conversations with Todd Kendhammer about that windshield?
After I spoke with Ben, I told Todd that Ben was not interested in having the windshield replaced, and that was pretty much left at that.
Do you remember about when that was?
It was weeks that it went by. I would have to say, because I don't see Ben on a regular basis, and he's busy, he's hard to get a hold of. So it had been some time and went by.
Was this conversation that you had related to that windshield close to September of 2016?
No, it was before that.
Do you have any estimate on the time?
Probably months, a couple months prior to that.
Okay. And when you told Todd Kendhammer that Ben wasn't interested in the windshield, what did he say to you? Do you recall?
Okay, pretty much.
Do you recall the last time that you had any conversations with Mr. Kendhammer regarding a windshield?
I guess the very last time I spoke with him, he told me that he had sold the windshield. He did not have it anymore. And that was the last time.
Okay. Do you recall about when that was?
Middle summer, probably, somewhere in there, end of the summer.
Do you have any vehicles that need a windshield?
No, I've never owned a vehicle with bad glass ever.
Okay, so back in September of 2016, none of your vehicles
No,
needed a windshield? Have you ever had a conversation with Todd Kendhammer about keeping your vehicle in the driveway with keys in it?
my personal vehicle?
Yes.
No,
Did you make arrangements with him to leave your vehicle or anyone else's vehicle
No.
with the keys in it?
no.
Are you aware of any reason why Todd Kendhammer would have been coming to your house on the morning of September 16th of 2016?
No,
To your knowledge, has he ever been to your house?
no,
Was Ben Paff's vehicle at your house in September of 2016?
no.
And prior to September of 2016, do you at all recall the last time you had spoke to Mr. Kendhammer?
It had been quite some time because I was on nights, he's on days. I would say it'd been weeks, months possibly.
Do you recall if you were home on September 16th of 2016?
Yes, I was, yep.
No further questions.
Mr. Heim, you told us that there was a conversation between yourself and Mr. Kendhammer about a windshield. When did that occur?
Early in the spring of the year,
Where?
at work at Crown,
Where at work?
up in the lunchroom.
Who else was present during that conversation?
I have no idea.
Do you know Scott Torgeson?
Yes,
How do you know Scott Torgeson?
he's works at Crown.
Was he present during that conversation?
I cannot answer that 100% correctly.
You ever hear Todd Kendhammer talk about Barbara Kendhammer?
Yes,
Ever hear her say one bad word about
Your
her
Honor,
at all?
objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Nothing else.
Stotsky, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
This time, does any juror have a question of Mr. Heim? I see no hands. Mr. Heim, you may step down. Thank you. Do you wish him to remain under subpoena?
No.
Okay, you're excused. Have a good day. Thank you.
thank you.
They call Randy early.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalties of perjury, do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
Sir, could you state your name?
Randall Erler,
Mr. Erler, how are you employed?
self-employed,
What kind of work?
drywall.
Were you previously employed somewhere else?
I used to work for Pellinger and Badger, basically through the union,
What union?
carpenters,
Were you retired from that?
yes,
Do you now do drywall jobs as a contractor?
yes, subcontractor.
Were you working on September 16th of 2016?
Yes, I was.
Where was the job that you were working on?
It was up on Bergham Cooley Road for Patrick Scar.
Do you remember where on Bergen Cooley that was located?
Be the first house on the left as you go back in there, I believe.
Do you remember what time you were supposed to start that day?
Yeah, gonna meet the other guy, my brother-in-law there at 8 o'clock.
8 a.m., I assume?
Yes,
Were you running late?
yes, it was. It was an accident on Highway 16. Kind of had traffic backed up a little bit, so I called them and told them.
When you arrived on Bergen Cooley Road, did you see anything?
Yes, I did. There was a vehicle that looked like it was doing a Y-turn on Bergham Cooley.
And what do you mean you said it looked like it was doing a Y-turn? Why do you say that?
Because the back end was backed into the ditch and the front end was towards the center of the road.
Were you able to get by the vehicle on Bergen Cooley Road?
Yes.
How fast were you driving?
When I saw the vehicle there, it was about 4 to 5 miles an hour.
At this time, do you remember if your windows were up or down?
My windows were down.
Is that something normal for you?
It is that time of the year. If it's fairly decent out, I do a lot of hunting and it keeps your body acclimated more with the temperatures.
When you saw the car, did you see any people?
No, I looked to see if there was somebody that was trying to do the Y-turn that I could help, maybe just pull the car out with my truck, but I did not see anybody.
What kind of a truck were you driving?
It's a 2004 Chevy Silverado, 4-wheel drive.
Were you able to see into the car?
Yeah, as I looked in through the windshield as I was going by it, I could see the passenger door was open, and so I just kind of went up to the job site from there.
When you say you saw the passenger door open, did you see that once you got past the car, or could you see it through the windshield or the driver's side?
I saw it through the windshield. As I was just driving by, I could see, glance in and see the passenger was open, so I thought maybe there was 2 people in the vehicle, and if they were just walking. So I didn't see anyone, so I went up to the job site.
Do you remember what time you arrived at the job site?
It was about 8:02 or 8:04.
And why do you say that?
Because I looked at my ignition switch, there's a clock on the radio right there. So I went to turn the switch off, and it was like 8:02 to 8:04, somewhere right in there.
So
I was checking to see how late I actually was.
So we were a couple minutes late for the job.
Yeah. Yes.
As you drove by, did you hear anything?
No, I did not.
Did you see any damage to the windshield?
No, I did not. As I looked through it, at that angle, to seeing the door was open, I just saw no damage whatsoever.
Would you have stopped if you had seen damage?
Yes, I would have. Figured somebody might have needed help at that time.
Since you didn't see damage and you didn't see people and didn't stop, what did you think happened?
I just thought whether it's one of the residents up there, maybe one of the kids were going towards town and forgot something and was going to do a Y-turn. And it's a pretty steep embankment, and the back tires were off.
As you drove by, did you notice whether or not the headlights were on?
I'm not sure. I do not believe they were on, or that would have caught my attention. I would have stopped, figuring that somebody was still there.
You don't remember seeing the headlights on?
No, I do not.
If they were on, were the headlights in your eyes or blinding you at all?
No,
Was the sun in your eyes at all?
No, it was a cloudy day, morning.
When you went to your job site, then, do you remember when you were contacted by police about this?
I do not remember. It was the next day or 2 days after, maybe.
Do you remember who spoke to you?
I cannot remember how to pronounce his name.
Does Leinfelder sound right?
That's correct.
At that time, did you know that there was a death or what investigation was going on? Did you know anything about the incident?
The only thing that I know is when we got up into the driveway, the homeowner was there and my brother-in-law were out there talking about bear hunting. And we heard a siren, and they both looked at me, and I said, well, they couldn't have been going there, because there was nobody there. So the owner got on a bike and rode down there and said that there was somebody there, first responder or sheriff or somebody.
Did you know anything about the investigation or why the police were talking to you or anything like that?
No.
Did you call the police or did they call you?
No, they called me.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hurley?
You're going to work that morning, there was I forgot, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name's Steve Hurley, and you're Mr. Erler, correct?
Correct.
And should I,
Randy.
well, okay, Randy. It's okay if I address you as that?
Yes.
All right.
Like I said, that you need to be using surnames in my order.
You're on your way to work, there's an accident, and you know you're going to be late, correct?
Correct.
So you called your boss.
No, he's not my boss. I own the company.
So called whoever you work with.
Correct.
And who was that?
It's my brother-in-law, Gary Fossum.
And you call Gary Fossum and you tell him, I think I'm going to be late, correct?
Correct.
You're come down Highway M, is that correct?
Correct.
Northbound or southbound?
I was heading north. When I called him, I was by Valley View Mall on Highway 16 yet. I hadn't been up that far.
So when you're going northbound on Highway M eventually, and you make a right-hand turn onto Burgham Cooley Road,
Correct.
and it's then that you say you saw a car go into the ditch?
No, it was already in the ditch.
It's already in the ditch.
Yeah.
You said, I thought you said you saw the car trying to make a Y turn.
No, I said I assumed they were trying to make a Y turn.
You didn't see the car go into the ditch, you made an assumption, correct?
Correct.
And so you go by, you see a car in a ditch, and you didn't see anybody, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't see anything on the windshield, is that correct?
Correct.
You didn't see anything at all that caught your attention?
No.
And you don't recall the lights being on, is that right?
Correct.
And you recall it was overcast that day, correct?
Correct.
Were your lights on?
Mine are automatic, so yeah, they were.
Yours were on. And you said on days like that, you have the windows down because the weather's nice, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall, now, when you talked to the police, you said it was 2 days later?
I don't remember the exact time. I said 1 or 2 days when they contacted me.
And so they're contacting you about something that you hadn't paid that much attention to at the time, is that correct?
Correct.
And you think that it wasn't raining that day, is that correct?
Not when I went by.
If it had been raining that day, would you have had your windows down?
No.
And I presume you certainly don't have a windshield wiper on the passenger side window, is that correct?
Correct.
I have no further questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Grinke?
I have no redirect.
Does any juror have a question, Mr. Erler? I don't see any hands. All right, thank you, Mr. Erler. You may step down. Anyone wish him to remain under subpoena?
No.
You're excused, Mr. Erler. Thank you very much.
We got done much earlier than I thought those two would take. My other witnesses were coming at 3.
3? That's
Yes.
a long break.
Well, they might be early, so we can come back at 2:30 and see if they're here. I can call them and see if they're on their way.
Well, why don't you find out, and then we'll decide if, how long a break we need, I guess.
Okay. It'll be at least 10 minutes, I would say.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you may have a longer break than you would normally get. We don't like to inconvenience you or waste your time, but we'll have you step out. Once we find out, we'll give you a heads up so we don't catch you off guard, and don't talk about the case, talk about anything else but the case. So enjoy your break.
Please rise for the jury.
So the record can show we're outside the presence of the jury. Ms. Domsky, are we going to know like in a moment of when they're going to be here, or because I don't want to have to everybody come in and out, you know.
I believe Mr. Grinke is going down to see if they happen to be here now, otherwise we'll have to contact them.
All right, well, I guess counsel, you just need to kind of remain around. I'll give you at least 10 minutes, but just check back in about 10 minutes. We'll see where we're at. We'll be in recess. At the record can show we're back in the courtroom outside the presence of the jury. Is the state ready to proceed with their next witness? Yes, sir. Okay, if the jury's ready, then you can bring them in. All right, you may all be seated. All right, Mr. Grinke, are you ready to call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. So you'll call Cynthia Larson.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalties of perjury, do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Have a seat in the witness box, please.
Could you state your name?
Cynthia Larson.
You have to sit a little bit closer to the microphone, I think, so people can hear you. Ms. Larson, did you used to work at West Salem Middle School?
I did.
When did you stop working there?
September of 2016.
Had you worked with somebody named Barbara Kendhammer?
I did.
How long did you work with Barbara?
About a year.
In September of 2016, were you still working there on September 16th of 2016?
Yes, I was.
What kind of work did you do?
I worked in the kitchen in the middle school.
Is that the same thing that Barbara did?
Yes, it was.
Did you two have the same job duties?
Yes.
What were your hours of work?
I worked approximately 9:30 to 1:30, sometimes a little earlier, depending on whether we had early release or different school duties.
Okay. The kind of work you did you have to lift heavy things, heavy boxes?
Yes.
50-pound sacks of flour?
On occasion.
Was it a daily occurrence?
No.
Did sometimes your work result in you getting bruises or injuries?
Yes.
Was it a common occurrence? Was it an everyday thing?
You'd get burned, like daily taking trays out of the oven. You might, get a small scratch or cut if you'd use like a box cutter slicing open a box. You might get banged on a dish tray coming out of the dishwasher, things like that.
Okay. You said burns. As far as bruises go, where would the bruises usually be?
Maybe the edges of your hand, like right over here, or maybe like right on this.
On the forearm you're indicating?
On the forearm, right there.
Did you ever have torn fingernails from work?
You might like rip cut a fingernail. Like if you like pull something, you might like rip the edge of the fingernail off or something.
Was it common?
Not, I guess, to say every day or something, no. But yes, I mean, it would happen like in any job that you use your hands in.
Okay. Did you have torn fingernails from that job?
I had broken a nail or two, yes.
Okay. Did you work with Barbara Kendhammer on Thursday, September 15th of 2016?
Yes, I did.
Did you notice any bruises on her that day?
None that were obvious, no.
Any on her hands?
None that were obvious, no.
Do you remember what you were doing that day with her?
Just our regular daily activities. I can't remember exactly what we served that day. But I worked with her toward the end of the day, the two of us, toward the end of the day, did silverware together, talked, and I didn't notice anything significant.
When you say doing silverware, what does that mean?
So we have to stack silverware, kind of get ready for the next day. And so we have a large like Tupperware container full of, spoons here, knives here, forks here, and then we kind of all chat and put silverware containers together and get them all ready for the next day. And so we kind of all have our hands we have gloves on, and we all have our hands in, and we kind of all chat and put those together, and I didn't notice anything.
Were the gloves the clear kind or the colored kind?
They're clear.
Clear? Did you notice anything that they bruises on her face or arms or anywhere else?
No.
Did Barb, was she a woman that took care of herself, her appearance?
Yes, absolutely.
In what way?
She was always very pretty. She always had makeup on. Her hair was always done. She was very stylish.
Your hair get done often?
Yeah, at least every couple weeks. She always had a hair appointment, and she was always very poised and always took care of herself.
If she had a torn fingernail, do you think she would have left it such?
I'm sure she would have went home and taken care of it.
On September 16th, the Friday morning then, what time were you scheduled to work?
I'm usually there anywhere between 9:30 and 10.
Did you receive a call that morning?
I did.
And what was the reason for the call?
Barb had not shown up for work.
Do you remember about what time that call was?
Very shortly after 8 o'clock.
Is it shortly after 8 o'clock?
Yeah, somewhere between. The phone that I had at the time broke, and I tried to get it fixed before today, but I'm going to say somewhere between 8 and 8:05.
Were you asked to come into work early?
Yes.
About an hour and a half early?
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes.
That's all I have from this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Grinke. Mr. Bednarek?
Thank you. Ms. Larson, you told the jury a moment ago that you had worked with Barbara Kendhammer at the school at West Salem for approximately the last year as of September of 2016. Is that correct?
Correct.
Fair to say that you had, excuse me, lots of contact with Ms. Kendhammer in that year?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself friends?
Yes.
Communicated often with her about her daily life?
Yes.
Were you aware that Barbara was planning on going camping for the weekend on September 16th?
Yes, I was.
And how were you aware of that fact?
We talked about our lives, about our children, things that we do, what's going on. We talk when we're cooking and, chatting in the kitchen.
Do you know where she had planned to go camping?
She was going to Grand Fest.
Do you know who she was planning to go camping with?
With her husband and her family.
And do you know when they were expected to leave to go camping?
Friday night.
I'm sorry?
Friday night.
Others have testified about a certain mug that Ms. Kendhammer was particularly attached to. Are you familiar with her
attachment to a particular cup or mug?
Yes, I am.
And I see you're kind of smiling when you nod and say that. Can you tell the jury what that's all about? Why?
She was very particular about her water intake. And that was her way of judging how much water she drank through the day and keeping track of making sure that she stayed healthy.
Do you know what she consumed her water out of?
That during the day at work, that's the jug that she used.
What did it look like?
It was blue and silver.
You told Mr. Grinke when he asked you questions a moment ago that your employment at the West Salem schools would, on occasion, result in tearing of your fingernails.
Yes.
I think the words you said it could rip the edges off.
Yeah.
Correct. And you told Mr. Grinke that that happened on a somewhat frequent basis. Is that also correct?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of depend on the condition of your nails, but yeah.
Did you know that Barbara Kendhammer had also experienced the same fate with her fingernails on occasion?
I would expect that everybody in the kitchen experienced that.
Is that something that you ladies discussed in the kitchen on occasion?
I think you would hear from one room or another, dang it, I broke a nail here and there.
You told the jury a moment ago that you received a call on September 16th, shortly after 8 o'clock in the morning. And I think you told the jury that the purpose of that call was to retrieve you for work earlier than expected because of Barbara Kendhammer's non-arrival.
Yes.
Who made that call to you?
Sherry Elliott,
And who is Sherry Elliott?
my boss in the kitchen.
So I presume she would be the one responsible for organizing the employees in the kitchen there?
That's correct.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you. Sorry. One more thing. This is just got a copy for you. Yep. Can I get the overhead? Judge, I have in my hand Exhibit 205. I believe that the state and I are stipulating to the admission, and I'd move into evidence 205.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
205 will be received, and you can publish it when that's ready.
Real fast. Apparently it takes a few seconds for this.
I don't think you have it aimed exactly right at the top either. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Judge.
Turn the backlights off.
Ms. Larson, if you could just turn over your left shoulder there, there's a picture in Exhibit 205. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
That's the mug that she would bring to work with her.
And when you say she, that would be Barbara Kendhammer?
Barb, yes.
And you saw her with that mug frequently?
Yes,
How frequently?
every day.
Do you know what was in the mug daily?
She always said it was water.
And do you know where the water came from?
No. I would assume she filled it up on her way to work and then refilled it at work.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Right. At this point, does any juror have a question of Ms. Larson? All right, I see no hands. Okay, Ms. Larson, you may step down. Does anyone wish to have her subject to recall?
No, not me. No, thank you.
Okay, you're excused from your subpoena. Thank you.
Is it called Cheryl Elliott?
Please raise your right hand. Under penalties of perjury, do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Have a seat, please.
state your name?
Cheryl Elliott,
Ms. Elliott, how are you employed?
at West Highland Middle School.
What is your position there?
I'm the cook manager.
Do you supervise others?
I do.
Ms. Elliott, can you just move a little closer to the microphone so we can hear you just a little
Yes.
better? Thank you.
How long have you been working there?
At the middle school since 2010, at West Highland School District since 2002.
In September of 2016, were you in that position?
Yes,
At that time, was one of the workers you supervised Barbara Kendhammer?
yes,
How long have you known Barbara Kendhammer?
a long time. Yep.
She was not just an employee, but a friend?
Yes.
And how long had you worked with her?
I believe she started just a little after I did, like 2003, I believe. But we worked together at Northern Engraving when we were quite a bit younger too. I think she was just 18, maybe 19.
So you've known her all that time?
Yes.
Directing your attention to September 16th of 2016, was Barbara scheduled to be at work that day?
She was.
What were her normal hours?
8 till 2.
8 a.m. to 2 p.m.?
Yes.
Was that every day?
Yes.
Monday through Friday?
Yes.
Was there ever times when she would show up late without permission?
She would call.
If she would be late, she would call sometimes?
Yes.
Was she considered to be a punctual employee?
Yes.
Did she ever, I'll scratch that. On Friday, she was scheduled to work at 8 a.m.?
Correct.
Did she call at all that morning?
She did not.
Was it normal for you to be there as well at 8 a.m.?
Yes.
What time do you start at?
6.
So you'd already been there 2 hours by the time she would start?
Yeah, actually last year I started at 6:30, so I'd been there an hour and a half.
Okay. On that morning of September 16th, did you notice when she wasn't there at 8 o'clock?
I did.
Was that unusual?
Yes.
Did you make a phone call to her?
I did, several.
Do you remember what time the first one was at?
8:02.
Do you remember why you called her at 8:02?
I needed to go to the bank and I didn't want to have to lock all of the doors to the kitchen and all of the windows.
So to see where she was at or how far away she was maybe, that kind of
Yes.
thing? Did you then have to call other employees to come in because she wasn't there
I did not right away.
eventually?
Eventually I did, yes. I punched out and went to the bank, did my errands, and came back. And when I came back and she still wasn't there, then I started calling other employees.
Do you know what time it was that you got back?
My break is done at 8:30, so I'm guessing it was close to 8:30.
So when she wasn't there by that time, you had to call in other people?
Yes.
Now, the work that she did there, can you describe what kind of work it was?
She did garden bar in the morning, so she would be chopping up vegetables and getting all the garden bar things ready. And then she would start prepping the other food that we needed for the day, and then she would start baking in the ovens.
Okay. And did the job require her to sometimes, in using her hands, get injuries?
Yes.
Did she ever get injuries to her face? Was that common?
No.
How about her legs? Would that
Yes.
have been-
Yeah, we do get bruises on our legs.
How about her arms or neck?
Arms, yes. I don't know about a neck.
Okay. And had you worked with her the day before, the Thursday, the September 15th?
Yes.
Do you remember how late you would work that day?
No, I don't.
What was your normal time to end?
Normally I would leave at, start at 6:30, 3 o'clock.
Okay. Do you remember seeing any bruises on her that day, Thursday?
No.
Do you remember her talking about any injuries or any
I
problems?
don't remember us talking about injuries that far back, no.
Okay.
We talked about injuries almost every day because we always had some sort of bruise or something,
Okay.
broken nail or,
Do you remember any obvious bruises to her face or?
I
head?
don't remember, no.
Are you saying that there weren't any, or you have no idea one way or the other?
I do not remember
Okay.
that day specifically.
just to make it clear, you have no idea one way or the other?
No,
Or-
we don't.
Okay. That's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Elliott.
Afternoon.
Try to take notes and write as much as I can, but sometimes I can't keep up. I note that you told the jury that you started working in 2003 at the schools there in West Salem. Is that
I think
correct?
2002 I started. I think Barb started in 2003.
That was going to be my question. How long had you worked with Barbara Kendhammer?
Well, I started at the high school, and she started at the middle school. And there was maybe about a 6-month period where we both worked together at the high school, and then she went back to the middle school. And then I've been at the middle school with her since 2010.
And you told the jury, I think, that you worked a different job many years ago when you were 18 years old, together with Barbara there. Is that yes?
Yes.
I'm sorry, the court reporter's writing
That's
everything
okay.
down, so she
Yes.
can't get a nod. You knew Barbara Kendhammer well, did you not?
I did.
And you knew Todd Kendhammer well,
Yes.
and still do.
Yes.
My understanding is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that on occasion Barbara would be late for work,
On occasion, yes.
and when that happened, she would call you, sometimes the night before, sometimes the morning of.
Correct.
And is it fair to say that if she knew ahead of time that she was to be late for work the next day, that she would call you the night before?
Yes.
And you're her supervisor,
Yes.
and give you the heads up,
Yes.
mom's got a doctor appointment or some such thing.
Yes.
But were there occasions where Barbara Kendhammer would have something arise the following morning and have to call you and relay that she was going to be late for work?
Yes.
But she always would contact you.
Yes, she would.
And is it fair also to say that on September 16th of 2016, when you did not hear from her either the night before or the morning of, that was unusual?
That was unusual, yes.
Would it be unusual for you to hear from her, I mean, maybe at 5 minutes to 8 or something shortly before her shift was to start?
It could happen. It does happen every day. Not every day, but a lot.
Okay. When Barbara Kendhammer would first arrive at work, she started at 8?
Yes.
When she would first arrive at work, what would happen first?
She would be on break from 8 until 8:15.
How is that she gets to work and starts a break right away?
The years previously, she did playground duty from 7:30 until 8 o'clock. And she would always be cold and want to warm up. So we started doing a break for her from 8 until 8:15, and then she had another 15-minute break later in the day.
And that never switched when her
It never
hours-
switched, no.
Her hours switched, but the break stayed the same.
Right.
So she'd show up for work and she'd sit down and have cocoa or coffee or.
Yes, cocoa.
What was the process? Who? I mean, would she sit alone? Do you know? Would you two break together? Were there others?
She and I would take break at the same time. I was done serving breakfast by 8 o'clock, and so I would punch out and take my half-hour lunch break from 8 till 8:30, which is weird too. But and then our janitor would also come in and have break with us on occasion.
What's the name of the janitor?
Ron Schmidt.
So fair to say that the three of you would most often gather at 8 o'clock or thereabouts to 8:15 each morning and have a break?
Correct.
Is it also fair to say that the three of you were all friends?
Yes.
Further, would the three of you discuss your personal lives at some level?
Yes.
All right. On September 16th of 2016, that was a Friday morning, yes?
Yes.
Do you know what Barbara Kendhammer's plans were for later in that day?
Yes, I do.
And what were they?
She was going to leave for Cranfest right after work,
And she worked till when?
till 2.
How did you know that she was planning on going to Cranfest at 2 p.m.?
Because she'd been talking about it since the day school started.
Is it your opinion that that was important to her?
Very important to her, yes.
Do you know if she'd gone to Cranfest before?
Yes,
And how do you know that?
because I worked with her all those years, and every year she went to Cranfest, and
do you-
she camped.
Do you know who she was planning on attending Cranfest with?
Her husband and her children, her brother, some of Todd's family.
You know how she was going to get there?
Todd would pick her up after work, and they'd be on their way.
Do you know, curiously, do you know if she would contact her husband Todd periodically through her workday?
Yes, she would. Actually, yes, he called her on her break every day.
At 8 o'clock, that break, or a different break?
No, her later break at 10:30.
Would you also break with her at 10:30?
Yes.
And would it be similar to the 8 o'clock break in that you'd sit and talk?
Yes.
And so you would know if Todd Kendhammer would call her at 10:30?
Yes. Almost every day he called her at 10:30.
Miss Elliott, I have what we've marked as Defense Exhibit 206, and it's actually in a U.S. Postal Service priority envelope. I'm wondering if you could take a look at that and tell me if you recognize that item that's labeled as Exhibit 206.
I do.
And can you tell, and Judge, I think we have previous a stipulation as to, one, its admissibility, and I would ask that I be able to publish it as well.
Is that correct?
Correct.
It'll be received and published after it's identified.
Can you identify what was in that envelope marked 206?
These are our Friday shirts for work.
You said your Friday shirts.
Yep, we wore these every Friday.
That suggests to me that there were different shirts, different days of the week?
This was our only for sure one. We had other just plain T-shirts that we could wear whatever days we wanted, but this is our Friday shirt.
Am I to believe that each of you that worked in the kitchen on Fridays wore the same shirt?
Yes.
And can you just hold that shirt up for the jury so they can see it? So if I told you that that was the shirt that Barbara Kendhammer was wearing the morning of September 16th of 2016, that would be no surprise to you because that's the Friday shirt.
Correct.
Should say a shirt exactly like it. Madam Clerk, could I get the overhead again? Ms. Elliott, I want to show you what's previously been marked as Exhibit 205. The jury has actually already seen it. But if you could look over your left shoulder and tell me what you see in that photo.
That is her mug. Well, it's a mug just like her mug.
When you say her mug, I assume you mean Barbara Kendhammer's mug?
Yes.
Have you seen that mug before?
One very similar to it.
Did Barbara Kendhammer carry a mug with her each day to school?
She did.
Did you joke about it with her?
We did.
Why?
Because we had filtered water at school, but she still wouldn't drink it.
Why not?
She liked her well water.
Do you know, did she have a well at home?
Yes.
Is it safe to say that Barbara Kendhammer would then bring that Bubba Cub with her to work?
Yes.
And you saw her with it commonly?
Yes, every day.
Did she ever forget it?
She did forget it on occasion.
Do you know what would happen when she would forget it?
She would call Todd and he would bring it for her. And if Todd wasn't home, she would get a hold of Jordan and Jordan would bring it for her.
That particular about the water from home, that
Yes.
somebody would deliver it to her. Over the years, did she burn through more than one of these Bubba cups?
That I don't know. I don't know.
You testified earlier that on the morning of September 16th, when Barbara Kendhammer did not call you and did not arrive at school, you became concerned. Is that?
Yes, I was.
Why were you concerned?
Firstly, I was concerned because I needed to run some errands. And like I said, I didn't want to have to lock everything up to leave, but I did. And then while I was at the bank, I saw first responders and fire trucks going by. And I was concerned that it was for her, that something had happened to her.
Do you know what time you were at the bank?
Probably about 10 after 8.
Where'd you go next?
Back to school.
At some point, did you call Cynthia Larson because you knew that Barbara wasn't at school?
I did. I called her when I got back to school.
And what was the purpose of that call?
I needed someone to come in and do her job. Do Barb's job.
Do you know about what time you called Miss Larson?
I'm guessing around 8:30 because my break was from 8 until 8:30. And the bank was on the other side of town.
Yes. Yes. Was it published? Yes. I wonder, similar to it. Do you know which number it was?
I'm showing you on the overhead now what's been marked as Exhibit 71, again over your left shoulder. And it shows a hand and most prominently, some fingernails. If I told you that that was Barbara Kendhammer's hand, would you have any reason to disbelieve that statement?
No.
The fingernails are slightly dirty, and one of them there, well, tell me, does one of them appear to be slightly chipped or slightly broken?
Yes.
And the breakage in that fingernail, would that be consistent with damage that your or Barbara's fingernails would suffer through the course of your employment at West Salem schools?
It could be.
Did you two ever discuss chipped, broken, torn fingernails?
A lot.
Frequently?
A lot. So I've had as many as 4 broken nails in one day.
And why is that?
Just using our hands a lot, lifting heavy things, and having to squeeze our fingers into tight spots.
Hands in and out of soapy water?
Mm-hmm.
Does it soften the nails?
Yes.
One moment, please. reminds me to ask you about something called flex time, flex hours.
Okay,
Are you familiar with that concept?
yes.
And can you tell the jury what that is and what that means?
Flex time, we call it, flex time. We have probably 4 different lunch schedules that we go by, so sometimes my employees had to come in earlier and then leave earlier, or sometimes they had to come in later and go home later. I flex my time almost daily, depending on how much prep time I need for my breakfast, or how much prep time I need at the end of the day for the following day's work.
And the idea being, if you have an 8-hour day, you complete your 8 hours, but not always the same 8 hours.
Exactly.
Would others do that on occasion as well?
Yes.
Does your bosses know about that?
Yes, they do.
Okay. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Mr. Grinke, any other questions?
A couple, yes. Just one clarification again. When you were looking at the picture of the mug, you said it was a mug similar to that was Barbara's. Do you have some question that was hers, or you just don't know if it was hers because you don't?
No, I don't have any question that that's hers.
Okay.
The one that I usually saw was like a camouflage, but it had been through the dishwasher so many times that it just had like a purple color.
Okay, and it didn't look like that, but you don't have any doubt that was the mug she
It
would
was
bring?
like that, big like that, yes.
But different colors?
Yes.
Did you ever see Barbara having dirty nails?
Not at work. We can't have dirty nails at work.
Because you work with food.
Right.
Was she a woman that took care of herself, her appearance?
Yes.
And just one question about you mentioned the flex time. Is that something that Barb would arrange the day before with you?
If she could, yes. If there was like a doctor's appointment that she knew about that way, but for example, if her dog was having a seizure that morning, no, she would call me that morning then and let me know that the dog was having a seizure, and she'd be in as soon as she could.
Okay, so flex time means with permission you can rearrange your schedule slightly during the day.
Yes.
That day she had no permission to not come in at 8 though.
Well, we don't always have permission to do it. I had an employee this week who was sick Monday, and she was 10 minutes late getting there, and she sent me a...
Well, let's just talk about Barb.
Okay.
Did she ever not show up at 8 and not call?
I can't think of a time that she didn't call, no.
That's all I have. Nothing else, thanks.
All right, at this time, does any juror have a question for Ms. Elliott? I see no jurors. All right, Ms. Elliott, you may step down. You can leave that there for now. Does anyone wish to have her retained under subpoena?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you'll be excused then from your subpoena. Let's bring that stuff over to here.
Right hand. Under penalties of perjury, do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Could you state your name?
Carrie Fyan?
Fyan?
Yes.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Could you tell us where you're employed?
The School District of West Salem,
What is your position there?
Director of Nutrition Services?
As part of your position, do you supervise Cheryl Elliott?
Yes.
And do you know somebody that was named Barbara Kendhammer?
Yes.
Was she also an employee of yours?
Yes.
Ms. Van, can you just be a little closer to the microphone? You can pull it down if you need to. There you go, thank you.
How long had you worked in that position?
I started in October of 2013.
Was Barbara Kendhammer a punctual employee?
Yes.
Was she somebody that would often come in late?
No.
Do you know if she ever came in late without permission?
No.
Parties have agreed that exhibits 75 and 76 can be admitted.
Tim, can you tell me which is which?
75 is that one. Ms. Fine, can you first look at what's been marked exhibit 75 and tell us what that is?
So this is a log of our key fob system. So anytime somebody uses a key fob on a door to get into a building, all of the entrances are secured in the school. You have to fob in, and it records the time that you pass through that door with your fob.
And whose fob system is that?
It belongs to the school.
That exhibit, whose
Oh,
record
this is Barbara's fob specifically.
Okay. Barbara Kendhammer?
Yes.
Would that record what time she actually got to work, or just what time she entered the building?
What time she entered the building.
From there, would there be more time that she would have to get to work, to her actual workplace?
Yes, so the kitchen is located in the basement of that building, so she would have to go down the stairs.
In Exhibit 76, can you identify what that is?
So this is our new, at the time, it was a new time log system. We moved to True Time. And at that time, then they had to log into the computer system as their way of punching in for work.
There's a more secure way of checking what time people got there?
A more secure way of saying what time they started work.
Started work, I'm sorry.
So they had to physically be in the building in which to punch in.
Okay. Is there something called flex time at West Salem Middle School?
No.
Was Barb ever allowed to come in later on Fridays or flex her time on Fridays?
No.
To your knowledge, did she ever flex her time with employees by having them cover for her while she came in late?
No.
You seem quite sure about that.
It was actually a memo that had been distributed to the employees that it was our policy that people did not flex their time, and the reason we did not want them to do that is we needed people in the building at very specific times for serving and to cover breaks. So we didn't want to create that as a policy. We created that so people didn't do that.
Okay. On September 16th of 2016, was Barbara supposed to be at work at 8 a.m.?
Yes.
Was it unusual when she didn't call or show up at 8 a.m.?
Yes.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right. Well, you're coming up there, I guess, under the stipulation 75 and 76 will be received.
Ms. Fyan, is it pronounced Fyan?
Yes.
Thank you. You told us a moment ago that you are the Director of Nutritional Services at West Salem Schools.
Correct.
As the Director of Nutrition Services, what physical location do you work at? I'm not familiar with the schools.
Sure. Our school, the West Salem School District, comprises of 3 buildings, and the district office is connected to our high school, and I work in the district office. Our buildings are set up as a campus, so I'm across a football field from the middle school.
Okay, and to be clear, Barbara Kendhammer worked in the middle school?
In the middle school.
So you worked in a building across the field there?
Correct.
All right. You also told the jury just a moment ago that there was a memo about flex timing that happened. And maybe I missed it. When was that memo?
I send out the memo every year, so unfortunately I've updated my memo, so I don't have the one that I would have sent out in 2016. And we specifically did it because we moved to that True Time system. We wanted to just make sure that people understood they couldn't do that.
Had that been a problem in the past?
It's not. The problem is we went from a system of annualized pay in a school district, which people filled out paper timesheets, to actually punching in and out. And so we wanted to be able to make sure that they were using their time off correctly. And so we could record their time.
Ms. Fine, would you, I mean, you're the boss of the people that work in food service, right?
Yes.
Would you necessarily know, I mean, I know you would like to know, but would you necessarily know if some people were utilizing flex time and not telling you?
I would, because it would show up on their time recordings under the true time. So when I approve every single timesheet that comes through. So I would see if somebody was late.
I have nothing else. Thank you.
Mr. Grinke, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Does any member of the jury have any questions for Ms. Fine? Is it Fine or Fine?
Fine.
Fine, thank you. No questions? Okay, you have 2 exhibits there. I'll take those. And then you may step down, and anyone wish to have her subject to subpoena?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you'll be excused then. Thank you very much.
Your Honor, the afternoon went a lot faster than I anticipated, so I don't have any witnesses today.
All right, counsel told me that earlier when we thought we'd have an hour break here, so we were able to get the witnesses in a little early. But that means you get to go home a little early here today. Remember not to talk about the case. Don't watch any news reports or listen to it on the radio, so you develop any information you shouldn't hear outside the courtroom. Tomorrow morning, we should be able to start again right around 8:30, so try to be in the jury assembly room about 8:15. They'll get you upstairs here, and we'll start shortly thereafter. Don't talk about the case, and enjoy your evening. Thank you very much.
Trials for the jury.
30. Okay, the record can show we're outside the presence of the jury. You may all be seated if you want. Anything else the state wants to put on the record for today?
Not on the record, Your Honor. After, I think, we'd like to talk to you off the record about a little housekeeping matters.
That's fine. Anything that the defense wants to put on record for today?
No, sir.
All right, we'll try to start about 8:30 in the morning, so be ready. Again, you can get in prior to that if you need to set up. Courtroom will be locked if you need that. All right, we'll go off the record and adjourn for today.